What's going on, folks? Welcome to an impromptu edition of Live and Coffee Current Events and Politics in Lukman Nation.
And the most dangerous show on social media ever. I haven't said that in a while.
I know it's been a while. Thank you all so much for joining us. This is indeed an impromptu, excuse me, broadcast. We just got wind of the text of the stimulus bill.
Yes, we have.
And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we need to be talking about. And we will have a formal show where we'll have our agenda and everything. But we gotta talk about these politicians, Republican and Democrat, who have been telling us all this time that, oh my gosh, we just don't have the money. And we can't give, more than $600. And remember that it was the Republicans said they didn't want to do another relief check to people. They were more concerned with businesses,
right.
Which, they already gave corporations and big businesses trillions of dollars.
Trillions.
And
banks, trillions.
And banks.
Yeah.
And they gave the money to businesses so that they wouldn't lay people off.
Right.
But businesses laid people off. Instead of just giving people money every month so that people could pay their bills, their rent, buy food.
And you mean keep the economy going? So people could do that.
Right.
Oh,
right.
That's right.
Exactly. But these people are still operating on the trickle-down model, which somebody else did another study which proved that trickle-down does not work. I don't know why anybody needed to spend any money to do that study when we've been saying this for ever since trickle-down economics was thought up in, who was it, Reagan's atom brain.
Yep, it was Reagan.
And people called it voodoo economics because it was
George Bush called it that.
And how
George
weird
Bush the
is
first.
that?
Yeah, George Bush the first called it voodoo economics.
Excuse me, y'all. Yep. I've got a little bit of sinus issue going on, which is why this is not going to be long. But we got to talk about this. Oh my God! There are a couple of things going on right now. The economy, obviously is in the tank. Obviously, because we should have closed the country down and to stop the chain of transmission of this virus, and done like other countries did, like China. Lock their countries down early on, take the economic hit, provide for the people to be able to pay their rent, buy food, provide food for people, provide free medical aid for people, which, Chinese people get that anyway. They have pretty much free health care or state subsidized health care. But provide for the people so that they can stay home and stay out of the streets and stop the spread of this virus. And now China's economy has not only rebounded, but it's thriving.
It is thriving, and right now, if you really want to compare it on real terms, the Chinese have gotten back into their manufacturing. You don't see the headlines that China is leading the world in coronavirus infections, and you don't see headlines that state that the China. Now these headlines did exist. But that was in the beginning of the pandemic.
Right.
See, when China made the logical and correct decision to take the hits when they knew that they could best afford to take the hits. Not when you're weak and not after, it's one thing of being able to take hits when you're relatively still strong to absorb the hits. It's another thing of taking these massive hits when you're not strong enough to take these hits. So China decided, like, hey, look, we can't have it all. So in not being able to have it all, how about we take these hits now, and we take what's come at us now, and then we absorb what we can. In the meantime, on the back end, we'll be better able or be in a better position to pick up, not so much pick up where we left off, but we won't be hurting as much. As opposed to if we didn't take these hits now and try to continue as business as usual, like the United States and some of these other countries were doing, and find out now that if we take it now before our entire population gets sick, and this is what these other countries didn't do. So the United States was like, We're exceptional. So we're not going to do it that way because we're exceptional. So what we're going to do it the exceptional way, and we're just going to just do business as usual and practice herd immunity because we're exceptional. Well, where did that exceptional attitude gotten us at? Number one, we lead the world. Yay, USA! We lead the world in coronavirus infection. We're number one.
In coronavirus infections, what was it? 250,000 new infections today.
Right.
One day.
And we're over 300,000 people have already died from it, and that's a conservative number. That's really not telling the whole truth. And but this is all in the all in the celebratory attitude that everybody had because after all they rolled out the COVID-19 vaccine. Look, they rolled out the COVID-19 vaccine, and to say that God doesn't have a sense of humor, now the news is out that COVID is mutating.
Right.
And
it's
a mutation, right?
In the UK.
Right.
Another country that bullshitted and half-assed the lockdowns. So now the COVID has mutated to another strain among people.
Yeah,
now.
but this COVID has class because it used minks.
Oh, is this the mink?
Yeah, these are the minks. These this COVID it's not look. Cousin COVID-19, like the rural COVID, cousin COVID-19 that's from that was like the country COVID that came through the wet markets and all through the pigs and the bats and all that stuff. This is like the country cousin of the COVID family, right? But this COVID right here decided like I don't like wet markets. I like a little bit more class. So so this is going through the minks.
Okay, let's do this right now. And our comment section is open. But here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to entertain a bunch of comments about this coronavirus being a fucking hoax. We're not entertaining that ignorant bullshit. We know people who have died from this virus. And even if we didn't, the fact that we are in this moment right now where this government has known that a deadly viral pandemic was in this country for months. Not from China, but from Europe. Let's get that straight, first of all. For months before they said anything about it, this particular current president lied, saying that it wasn't that serious. He was exposed in an interview admitting that he lied. And people are still going with this hoax bullshit. More than 350,000 people now
so far
have died from this virus. More people than have died in 8 months for one cause than at any other time in the history of this country, with the exception of the Spanish flu in 1918. More people have died in 8 months than those who died who were American soldiers in the Vietnam War. More people have died in 8 months from COVID-19 than all of the people who died in the September 11th attack.
Mm-hmm.
More people have died from COVID-19 in 8 months than died in what? World War II?
It's bad. And I put it this way. Look, no one is more cynical of the government than us. Trust me. So, I mean, look. No one is more cynical of the government. No one is more cynical of what the government does. No one is more disbelieving of government propaganda and of what we consider government propaganda. Look, trust me. I mean, we're not those type of people.
No.
But I think that cynicism has to be backed up by some kind of cynicism. You can't just have cynicism alone when it comes to something like that. What I mean is that there is more proof that this coronavirus is real than there is proof that it isn't.
And quoting anything by Rahm Emanuel is not proof. So that's all we're gonna say about this coronavirus is a hoax bullshit. It is indeed bullshit, and it's not something we entertain here in Lukman Nation at all.
Well, I believe that a lot of people's lives, unfortunately, because then there's this anti-vaccine movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I haven't really weighed in on that personally. But I do feel that part of this. I think that part of what contributed so much to the deaths of people from corona is this belief that it's not real.
That
People
yes.
going out not wearing masks, people not, look, okay, if you don't believe that it's not real, a lot of us, grew up believing that Santa Claus was real, right? And my point being is, when we realized, when we had kids of our own, and we start, we played the Santa Claus thing for a bit. We knew it was false, but we went along anyway,
right,
knowing that it's not real. And but you're not gonna have Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and all them. They're not putting people in the grave.
right.
You know what I mean? So so the thing of it is the fact that I think that as responsible people and intelligent people, I think that until we got definitive proof that the government is screwing us over somehow, first of all, we give the government too much credit. What do I mean by that? This is a worldwide pandemic. People in every country just about have died from it. And if this is still a conspiracy, trust me, the government, we're giving the government too much credit, because somebody somewhere is going to spill the beans. You know what I mean? We're going to have the Edward Snowdens. We're going to have somebody is going to be like, you know what? This is bullshit. Look, okay, I was on board in the beginning because y'all gave me enough money to put an addition onto my house and guaranteed some of my family lifelong job appointment. But right now this is too much, and you just can't just indiscriminately have people die because of some kind of fucked up agenda that the government have. So you know what? It would have been leaked a long time ago.
I agree with you. I think that there have been plenty of instances in the history of this country where there have been things that the United States has done alone in order to further its own agenda, like the Gulf of Tonkin that started the Vietnam, our involvement in the Vietnam War. Yeah, that the people who were involved in that kept secret for long enough. But we're talking about a global, you'd have to involve the leaders of every single country on the planet in order to go along with this hoax. And we're talking about the leaders of country, the United States colluding with the leaders of countries that they're actively at the same time right now imposing sanctions on, that are also suffering from this pandemic that's supposed to be false, that the United States sanctions are keeping them from getting medication to their people. No, that's not what's going on. And the United States would have to be colluding with countries that it actually actively wants to destroy, like Iran, China, Cuba, Venezuela.
When have you known any government politician who is willing to expose themselves and put themselves out there for some agenda? You know what I mean? Oh no, we'll take the hits.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, I don't see. Look, it is documented that Trump was infected with COVID. Throughout, a lot of people in the White House staff and his administration were infected with COVID. They claim to be patriots, but they ain't that type of patriot. They ain't that type of patriot. They ain't that type of.
Like, yeah, I'll catch the virus for the team.
Right. No, they're not going to do that. No. So that's what makes it ridiculous. What makes this whole conspiracy thing ridiculous is because you have to guarantee that everybody stays quiet.
Exactly.
And not to mention, you're talking about the same countries who couldn't even agree on how to heal the fucking planet at the Paris Summit. You know what I mean? At the Paris Climate Summit. So I think that we need to approach these things with a little bit more intelligence, because there has been over 1 million people who have died from this, and I've heard things like, oh well, it's population control, this that. Well, again, that's not even an intelligent reason, because if you want population control, everybody from rich to poor has gotten this virus. So who are you targeting?
Right. The virus is indiscriminate.
That's my point.
Exactly.
So if you want to get rid of all poor people, all black people, all this and that and the other, I would think that someone would have a little bit more intelligence on how to weaponize a virus. And trust me, they do have the capabilities of doing that, because we've just seen in documentaries where during the Korean War, the United States was involved in biological warfare against the North Koreans, and so they targeted these people.
Right.
So if you have an agenda where you say, well, it's population control, well, this is a shitty way of population control. It's really shitty, because population control means that you have a targeted group you want gone, and that you would weaponize whatever you're going to weaponize in order to, you know what? It would have been a lot, if you wanted to get rid of black people, it would have been a lot cheaper for the government to put something in Popeye's chicken and advertise. When they had the new Popeye's chicken sandwich. Now you remember, Jackie, when the Popeye chicken sandwich came out, people were lining up all around, stuff like that. I was mad because I didn't get a chance to eat it, because it was sold out by the time we got down there. Right. So but people didn't question Popeye's chicken sandwich. Right. They didn't question it. Right. They went down there. Steve Harvey got on there and said how good it was, and word of mouth. Black folks went down there to get this Popeye's chicken. So it would have been a lot cheaper for the government and a lot less suspicious if the government would have said, okay, we got these black folks down at these Popeye outlets, then we can get rid of them right then and there. We could put a bacteria in a piece of chicken, and then as soon as they go home, but it's just like the Roach Motel, right? Well, what was the thing with the roach things? You go in and they eat a little bit, and then they go back to the nest.
They carry the
trust me, this has been figured out a long time ago. Yeah. So you don't have to go to Wuhan and get a coronavirus and risk spreading a worldwide pandemic to get rid of some folks you don't want hanging around. That don't make sense.
Especially when the very other countries, like I was saying, that you have to collude with are the countries that you've been trying to destroy, but are the countries that are actually showing you up because they are responding to the virus that's supposed to be fake now,
right,
better than this government that allegedly is orchestrating all this fake virus stuff. They're showing up, this government, because they're actually taking care of their people in the middle of this pandemic.
Right.
So this whole thing, the New World Order, it's an economic reset. Just because a natural catastrophe, which is what this is a virus, it is a viral pandemic. It's a pandemic because it's affecting the entire world. If it affected only one country, it'd be an epidemic. But it's affecting all countries around the world, so it is a pandemic. The pandemic is real. The virus is real. The issue that people are conflating is the fact that capitalists are using a very real global viral pandemic that's killing people to take advantage economically of this situation. That's what people
disaster capitalism.
It's disaster capitalism. And I swear to God, I just don't put the cart before the horse. Don't make this a situation where you're looking at the capitalists making more money and being able to capitalize off of a global pandemic and saying that because capitalists are doing this, then the pandemic is an orchestrated fake thing, that this is just all a part of the New World Order. Not when 350,000 people in this country and counting, and poor countries, are now being asked out of whatever vaccine that exists, or whatever people feel about the vaccine, they can feel about it, but capitalists are taking advantage of the capitalist way that the vaccine was produced in this country.
Even the economic reset doesn't make sense. And the reason why the economic reset doesn't make sense, because they have done economic resets before. It's called war.
Thank you.
So this is the reason why you have these perpetual wars, the military-industrial complex. The reason why that you have during the time of Germany, that World War II was an economic reset. When the United States and the West emerged victorious out of World War II, they looked around and said, "Fuck, we ain't got nobody to trade with." So that was economic reset. So they had the Marshall Plan.
So you mean the war was fake?
No, well, yeah. Look, they looked around and they said, "Oh fuck, well, we came out victorious. We don't have anybody to trade with. We done already got manufacturing pumping, and and we got all these people employed because we got soldiers coming back home who need jobs. Who the fuck are we gonna trade with? So then they said, well, you know what? They do what rich people always do. When Trump they put you back in the game. Mm-hmm. They do it on the street. You ever play dice on the street? As soon as you lose your money, you know what happened? They don't let you walk away. They keep you in the game. It's the same way that rich folks do. When Trump filed bankruptcy, they was like, no, Trump is more beneficial to us than he would be if we just let him just go bankrupt and go along the way. They loan him the money, they keep him in the game.
They keep him in the game.
Right.
They keep floating him a line of credit.
Right. Because, and it's the same way after World War II. Who benefited the most from the Marshall Plans? Yeah, of course, Germany and Japan and all got built up, but it was the banks. Because the banks was the ones that floated the loans and all this stuff, and then, in the manufacturing, and then the United States had to shift from a war economy back to a peacetime economy. That all took money from the banks and loans. That's your economic reset. Right. Nobody sat back and said, damn, how are we going to economically reset after World War II? Oh, I know. We'll have a virus that'll go around and start. No, what it was is the fact that the banks was like, hey, we can loan money again because Germany, all of the economic, all of the infrastructure, economic infrastructure of Japan, Italy, Germany, even Britain, all the countries, Russia had gained so much from Western banking in order to rebuild their economy. I mean, the Nazis were motherfuckers. I mean, a lot of these societies were devastated. 100 million people dead from World War II.
Were you sure? Those dead people weren't fake?
Well, you know what? That I will not, that, as the Godfather said, that I will not entertain. But my point being is the fact that the banking system and everything, they all benefited. This is the reason why after World War II, the United States had, in that period before the government fucked it up, but they had that brief period of economic prosperity after World War II. Right. You know what I mean? Because, hey, look, I mean, come with the victors come the spoils. And so the banks and everything. And this is the reason why that, that prosperity was happening. And then we rebuilt West Germany. Then Britain got rebuilt. France got rebuilt. Japan got rebuilt. They started manufacturing. That's your economic reset. People, study history. Study fucking history.
Come on.
Because, nothing you're saying is new. Nothing you're saying is new. This has been done before, but not in the ways that we think. Right. Because, see, if we were to sit back and say that this is an economic reset, this virus, well, I tell you one thing, then whoever orchestrated this, they need to hang them from the stake. Because it's like, hold up, we had an economic reset without putting the whole world in jeopardy?
Right. It pains me the lengths that people will go to prop up the idea of, the deep state and all of its evil machinations, which, yeah, there's some validity to that, but then will completely ignore the very real suffering of human beings and claim that suffering isn't real.
All right, so what happened what happened in 1918 with the Spanish flu?
That was fake. Apparently.
What happened with the bubonic plague?
That was fake too.
What happened with, these things, sometimes folks, we have to tell ourselves. You know what we really have to tell ourselves? We have to look ourselves in the mirror and we have to say, shit happens. This is what we have to do. Yeah. We have to honestly look ourselves in the mirror and we have to say, you know what? Shit happens.
And when shit does happen, guess what happens? Then the banks figure out how to capitalize and profit off of shit. That's what they do. That's disaster capitalism. It's not that the disaster is not real. Katrina was real as fuck.
Yeah, well,
Katrina was real.
Ask the folks who lived through that.
Katrina was real. And New Orleans, the capitalists in New Orleans, perpetrated an economic reset in New Orleans by privatizing schools and not giving people the money for their properties, didn't build up their properties. The insurance companies didn't pay out on those policies, on those homes that were destroyed. And now Yeah, New Orleans economy is quote unquote booming, but it's gentrified, and the poor people who had to leave. They were never allowed to come back. That's an economic reset.
You just said the magic word, too. I'm glad you said it, gentrified.
Gentrified.
Because the economic reset is when you allow property to just sit there through benign neglect, and the people who are already there can't get loans, can't get anything. You won't invest where they live at. But then the economic reset comes, like you said, through gentrification and policies that's made, to remove the existing population. This has been done before.
And it doesn't mean that the terrible, horrible natural disasters that do happen, that these economic resets were built on, were faked. So we spent way too much time on that particular point, because that's not why we wanted to talk to y'all today. Because today, the text of the COVID relief bill came out. Now, again, just because what we're about to show you is real, and it's a real travesty, it's a real insult to the suffering of Americans, and people around the world. Let me not just say Americans, because I hate how we localize everything.
Yeah.
No, to people around the world. Just because this is what these politicians in this country have cooked up in their cauldron of lies, it does not mean that coronavirus is not real. It absolutely is. But let me show you what's in this relief bill. Now remember, at the beginning of this round in the negotiations, let's recap, shall we? In the beginning of this round of negotiations, the Democrats agreed to take the relief check that you and I were going to get off the table. Thank you. That, excuse me, sinus issues, y'all. That $1,200, we were hoping we'd get another $1,200. Not $1,200 a month like other countries have given their people. Just another one check for $1,200. We were hoping we would get that from these folks on Capitol Hill. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the Democrats, in the spirit of bipartisanship. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm not even going to pay any attention to this dude anymore. The levees in Louisiana were not bombed. I'm going to block you, because that's just insulting. Yeah, that's
trolling.
Crazy. I can't. We're not going to do that. Bye. So the Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the Democrats went into these negotiations, agreeing to take that relief check off the table. All right. It was the Democrats who said, okay, fine, we can do these negotiations and not give the people any more money. Because that's what the Republicans wanted. And then somebody told Mitch McConnell, Mitch, our folks down in Georgia, these poor white folks in Georgia, who we need to vote for our folks in this Senate runoff race, they're mad because they heard that there's not going to be any more relief for the people in this next stimulus bill. So it was Mitch McConnell who put that $600 back on the table. It wasn't Nancy Pelosi. It wasn't Chuck Schumer. It wasn't anybody in the Democratic caucus. I won't say that other people didn't fight for it, because we know Sanders was on the House floor, doing his usual, making a speech to an empty chamber because people don't want to hear what he has to say. And I know other people did advocate for it, but the other people who mattered were not Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. They were fine with doing these negotiations without a check at all for you and me on there. It was poor white Republicans in Georgia who pushed Mitch McConnell to put that $600 back on the table. It wasn't the Democrats. And let us not forget that the tantrum, Donald Trump, actually said he wanted checks of up to $2,400.
Yeah, that's what he said, yeah.
But we talked in our podcast that you can find on our Patreon page why he did that. You're going to have to go listen to that podcast, our Coffee Chat with the Lukemans from last couple days ago, to hear our thoughts on that. There's some really interesting political calculus behind the Republicans stopping Trump from pushing for that. So here we are. That's how we got to $600 instead of $1,200. And that's how we got anything other than nothing, which is what the Democrats were willing to walk in there with. So Nancy Pelosi says that even though the $600 check wasn't as much as she wanted it to be, that's a damn lie, that it's significant. That's what that heifer actually said. That $600 is significant. But here, let me show you what else is significant for the Democrats. This is from our friend and comrade Alan McLeod. He's an author for Mint Press News. If you listen to By Any Means Necessary on Radio Sputnik, you'll know that we have him on the show pretty regularly. Alan got his hands on the text of the bill, and in the bill, look, there's only $600 for you and me, but there's $33 million to continue to try to overthrow the government of Venezuela. Now look, if coronavirus is fake, and the U.S. government has had to collude with every government around the world, including Venezuela, to fake the pandemic that affected Venezuela too, then why are U.S. politicians spending $33 million to overthrow the Venezuelan government? Man, get the fuck out of here with that.
On both sides of the aisle, they come to a bipartisan agreement for that.
They collude with the Venezuelan government to fake the virus, but they also collude with each other to get the fuck out of here with that. Okay, so there's that. Let me see. Here we go. Down here, there's $3.2 billion set aside so the Army can buy more missiles. Now, this is in the coronavirus relief bill. This was supposed to be the CARE Act for us. Right. Now, they put this together as a part of a 2-day continuing resolution spending package to keep the government open. I feel like we should have shut the fucking government down to get our money.
Yep, I
agree. But we understand the Democrats weren't going to do that. And this is what they ended up with. $3.2 billion for more missiles for the Army. There's more. $19 billion for Navy aircraft.
But hold on, let me stop this for a minute. Because we're seeing all of this hidden, what they call pork, right? Mm-hmm. So we're seeing all of this, stuff that's added to the COVID bill, right? Mm-hmm. Didn't they just pass a $700 billion defense bill?
$741 defense bill.
Right. So why is it that more money has to go to the military? You just passed a $740 billion defense bill that Democrats and Republicans both agreed on, and yet the bill that is supposed to give us relief, that's supposed to look out for us, still has to be padded with all of this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, Alan is still tweeting. We're actually kind of reading these tweets in real time
as it comes along, right?
As it comes along. So let's go to some other stuff, because this is really important stuff right here. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger to make sure you see this. This was as of 25 minutes ago. He posted. The government in this coronavirus relief bill now, they have language in it that will make unauthorized streaming a felony.
Now, what is that?
We don't know, because nobody's read this motherfucker but Alan McLeod and a couple of independent journalists.
Because I want to know what is illegal stream. That could be anything.
That could be you and me.
Right, exactly.
That can be us. That can be all of the people that you all like watching YouTube and Twitter videos from. We don't know what it means, because the bill was literally written today and they're voting on it. Let's see. Something about the Dalai Lama in here, I guess. That's interesting. Let's see. Legal streams again. Horse racing, integrity, and safety. There was something in here about Israel, and I'm trying to slide down to see if I can find it. Venezuelan. Here it is. $177 million of the COVID relief bill is going to fund an Israeli ballistic missile program. You and I couldn't get another $1,200.
Couldn't get $1,200. No, couldn't get another $1,200.
But they could find $177 million for Israel to get some ballistic missiles to blow Palestinians up with.
Right.
And other Arab nations who would dare come to the offense.
Right, or to start this coming war they want with Iran.
Exactly, which, at this point, with all of the Arab and African nations that are cozying up to Israel, there are not a whole lot of Arab nations left that will come to the defense of the Palestinian people.
Yep, that's it.
Whew. Okay, I need to lay down, but I'm so incredibly angry. Okay, so I think that's the end of his tweets for right now. But I especially wanted to get, excuse me, to that one. Let me refresh, make sure he didn't tweet anything else interesting that we don't want to miss.
And this is at a time when 8 million Americans have been pushed into poverty since the start of this pandemic. 8 million people have been pushed into poverty.
Been pushed into poverty over something that folks are still talking about as fake.
Yep.
I just can't. But
this is the thing that everybody and this is what gets me. You want to know why there is such a cynicism out there amongst people. If the Democrats haven't waged this fear-mongering war against Trump, then Trump would have won. And the reason why I say that is because that's the only way it's sad. That's the only way the Democrats were able to energize their base.
Exactly.
That's the only, and this is what we get. This is what we get.
This is what we get. Now this is not to say that Trump was better. But I think it is important to make the point that I think this is what you're trying to get at. Even in his own narcissistic, self-serving, he don't really give a fuck about us either way, Trump would have at least, in order to win, throw us a few more that's where the political argument is on both sides of the aisle now, and that's completely fucked up, and that's the problem with American politics, that the argument has come down to, well, this politician ain't shit because he don't give a shit about us, but at least he would have gave us $2,000
but that is the reason,
as opposed to this $600 we got from the Democrats not even wanting to give us anything.
But that is the reason why the Democrats stalled when they were negotiating this second round of stimulus. This second round of stimulus was negotiated back in July.
That's true. It began negotiations in July.
And and the Democrats, and I'm not look. I'm glad that Trump doesn't have a second term, so don't fuck with me behind that. What I'm saying is we need to look at how the strategy was. Mm-hmm. Trump was counting on two things. He was counting on two things that he thought would guarantee him a second term. One was the stimulus. Mm-hmm. Number two was the vaccine. Mm-hmm. Trump knew that vaccine was coming. Right. He knew that Operation Warp Speed and all that other shit. He knew it was coming. He was just like a kid in the candy store. He couldn't hold himself. He had to let it go. You know what? Well, you know what? I got a vaccine coming at the end of the year. And he was right. I mean, we see it rolled out now. Mm-hmm. So he's the president. He was briefed on it. They told him that we should have it around about this time. But and Trump was hoping on that. He also was hoping, banking on the fact that that the stimulus package would come right before the election. Mm-hmm. People would get some money in their pocket, mm-hmm. and that would float him over. Right. You know what I mean? Nancy Pelosi and them purposely what I'm using. Nancy Pelosi and them purposely stalled mm-hmm. in the negotiations because mm-hmm. they knew that would be an advantage for Trump. Now that's good politics. I understand. It was fucking us up, mm-hmm. but I understand. But between that and then with the fear mongering campaign of we got to get rid of Trump and we got to get Biden in there and black folks, come on, you're up. You know what I mean? And we go up in there and play our part again, mm-hmm. and everything. But what happens is the fact that, okay, Trump lost. But this doesn't give me any, this doesn't really give me any happiness about what I'm seeing here. Because see, if it was really about change, if it was really about you got 8 million Americans. You look on TV, you see these food lines where you've never seen them before.
Right.
And you see 8 million people. You see this eviction crisis that's getting ready to happen all across the country. And these bastards got a nerve to put in this bill millions for an Israeli ballistic missile system, 33 million to overthrow a fucking government. I mean, all of this stuff. I mean, come on, people. When are we going to get tired of being fucked by our own government? Now I sound like drunken Jimmy Dore now. When are we going to fuck? But when are we going to be tired? Get tired of our own government constantly sticking it in our ass and telling us that that it's Skittles. You know what I mean? Look, these midterms are coming, and this is where we a lot of us on the left, a lot of people are Democrats. This is where we always drop the ball. We get our guy in there, then all of a sudden now we go home. No, but you got the midterms coming. You got these other elections are coming. But more so than that, we have to organize a fucking pitchfork posse, and we have to put pressure on these people and let them know we don't like it that our government can look out more for Israel than they can look out for their own working class people here. We don't like that that our government can find $33 million to overthrow an elected government, an actual democratic elected government in Venezuela, then and as opposed to ensuring that the American citizens who you rely on to fight your wars and all this other kind of stuff, and look. We can't get Medicare for all, but Israel can get a ballistic missile system. We can't get Medicare for all, but then we can, but you could put it, we can't get Medicare for all, but there's some in the COVID for fucking horse, whatever that thing is.
Yeah, horse racing.
Yeah, horse racing stuff.
And horse racing.
I mean, come on, people, when are we going to stop, when are we going to get tired of the government? This shows the actual contempt. And no, we can't even demonize. We can't just sit here and demonize Republicans, because this would not have passed without Democrats too. We can't sit back. They're still putting in military funding in a COVID bill that they're telling us is supposed to be for our benefit. But previously to that, they already passed a $700+ billion bill. Budget for the military. So I mean, when are we gonna get tired of constantly getting just slapped around by these people who can't give us the basic things that every other advanced country has?
I mean, there's so many. I see y'all over in the comments. Hey y'all. Hey Dill-esque and Forrest and okay, Latasha. Torches and pitchforks and Alex and y'all got questions. I don't want to talk about the whole Jimmy Dore Ben Dixon thing, because let me.
We don't have to talk about it, but I mean, whatever questions they have, because I had asked you earlier, because I defer to your wisdom and your knowledge, and I defer to your greatness. But what is your take? And we're not going to spend much time on it, but it is current events.
It is.
So what is your take on this whole Jimmy Dore, AOC, Nancy Pelosi,
right,
Ben Dixon?
Okay, so, Latasha, I'm just the COVID hoaxers. I mean, if people die, it's not a hoax. I mean. I don't understand where people get this reasoning from. And seriously, if we are talking about the ability to find solidarity and challenge the actual powers that be for the actual shit they do to people, we are not going to be able to do that with people sitting around with their thumb up their ass talking about, oh, it's a hoax. 350,000 people plus are dead. This virus is real and it's killing
They're
people.
crisis actors.
They're all crisis. You're right. They're all crisis actors. Good God. Okay, look. Here's my thing with the whole Dore and Dixon argument. If we elect progressive officials to go to Washington and challenge the status quo, then they need to do that. understanding that sometimes you are going to lose some battles. This is true in every political fight that has ever existed. This is true in every military fight that has ever existed. In every war, you're going to win some battles. Some strategies are important to carry out in order to make a show that will reach people. Sorry about this camera, folks. Folks, we still haven't figured out what the hell's wrong with this thing. In order to make a show that will reach people who might not have all of the understanding and knowledge that you and I do. And I'm not going to make personal comments about Dorr or Dixon. Because I have personal opinions about Dorr. I'm going to keep them to my fucking self like I have for the past 3-4 years. I'm just going to keep that shit to myself. Excuse me. We have seen the Democrats vote for legislation that they know damn well is not going to pass in the Senate. And they made a big ass deal about it. And it was a great thing, and people celebrated that shit. What was that? The passage, they voted to legalize marijuana. You and I know that shit is not going to pass in the Senate. It might not pass this time, but somewhere along the way, the Democrats thought, some Democrat thought, it's a good idea that we have this vote, this floor vote, to show that we mean business about pushing this agenda sometime in the future. We may not win it this time, but we're serious about committing to this. And that was a little breadcrumb thrown to the progressives to get around the other stuff that they didn't want to fuck with. Let's be clear that I understand what that means. So the idea that it is bad strategy to advance a vote for something that you know you're going to lose, well, that's bullshit, because it's done all the time. They do it all the time. The Democrats spent fucking 3 years voting on impeachment. That was bullshit, and they knew it. They knew they were not going to impeach this man. They knew that the Senate was not going to vote to fucking impeach Donald Trump, but they spent 3 years pushing and voting millions of dollars to impeach this man. So if we're basing this argument on not having a House vote on Medicare for all because it's not good strategy,
because it's too hard,
because we're not gonna win the vote this time, what the fuck have y'all been looking at? That happens all the goddamn time. I don't understand why people are using that crazy argument. I know my cussing is extra today, but I've been pissed for a few days over this foolishness, and I just don't. Okay, let me breathe. Okay, here's the other part of this that people are not getting. It doesn't matter how many of these political theater kind of votes you do, and I do think that it would have been political theater, but I think it would have been good political theater, because we're not talking about them needing to do this for people like you and me, or people who watch us, or people who watch Ben Dixon, or people who watch Jimmy Dore. They needed to have done this and made a big ass stink about it with a press conference and some Twitter stuff and some YouTube stuff and maybe some, I don't know, elephants and dancing clowns, or just make a big ass to do about it.
That would have been what John Lewis used to say, good trouble.
In order to reach people who are not like you and me, who don't spend all our time listening to and reading and watching political commentary and doing, consuming political analysis and from left sources outside of the Democratic Party. That needed to be done for the folks who are still on the fence about the Democrats, and for the folks who are still dyed-in-the-wool, blue dog Democrats who, no matter what they say or do, they gonna stay Democrats. Those are the people that political theater needed to be done from. And this is the problem that I have with progressives in this online space that I've always had. We have this self-righteous fucking attitude where once we understand something and believe something, we automatically think that because we get it, everybody should get it.
That's true.
And if everybody doesn't get it the way we get it, then we start calling folks names. We don't have patience with folks. We don't want to fuck with them.
Yeah, it appears to be like a snobbery.
It is kind of this weird progressive snobbery, and it's ridiculous. So yeah, that political theater, I think, could have been useful for those folks who needed to see it, which are not you and me. Okay, let's admit that. Here's where the problem lies, I think, on the other side of the argument. None of that matters if there is no organization outside of your online platform. None of that. I mean, it's great. The political theater is wonderful. It's great to raise an issue among people who don't realize there's an issue.
Right.
It's great to start that conversation and bring out points and facts that you didn't get from the debates with all those lies that people didn't even watch because they didn't give a shit. And I don't blame them. That's our job, right? Mm-hmm. But that political theater would have been a good vehicle for getting information to people who didn't have it already about the issue of Medicare for all and why it was important to them. But unless that political theater and all of this online, whatever it is that people are doing, is connected to getting people connected to organizations on the ground who are educating folks in their communities about this issue and others, and why it matters to them, helping them understand the political process. I mean, this argument that people have about, oh, well, people don't understand the political process. Well, of fucking course they don't. Of course they don't. Civics isn't taught in school anymore. I'm 53 years old. I remember civics being taught in school. Yeah. You're 54. Yeah. You remember civics being taught in school. Mm-hmm. Your 24-year-old didn't get civics in high school. So no, they don't understand what the political process is. And I swear to God, if we have an online platform where any number of people will listen to what we say, we better fucking be organizing people instead of just talking at people and telling them how much they don't know about how political strategy works. Yay for you! You understand the ins and outs of politics. Are you explaining to the people who are listening to you the ins and outs of politics? Or are you just dangling your credentials at folks and hoping that they'll like and share your videos? And I said I wasn't going to get all into it, but here I am. Damn it to hell.
As soon as you're out, they bring you right back in.
I mean, either we're going to use our platforms to educate and help organize people into movements, organizations and movements where people can do the work to learn more. And that means, folks, y'all got to read. And this is where I fault AOC here also. Because, listen, I'm not letting her off the hook. When she responded to that tweet, and this was my monologue today on By Any Means Necessary, so the audio will be up on our Patreon page a little bit later. And it'll be up on Twitter. You'll be able to check it, the whole thing. When she responded to the tweet from Jason Jackson, I think his name is, the running back from the LA Chargers. That was pretty neat. She could have used her platform to provide people the information that she said that they could have gotten from just reading the co-sponsored list. Well, most people don't know where to look for legislation. They don't know about Congressional Quarterly. They don't know about the websites opensecrets.com. They don't know. So why not provide people that information? She didn't do that. So I think that there are weaknesses with both of the, I don't know. I take issue with all aspects of it. What I don't take issue with is how people delivered what they had to say. Because God forbid, I don't want anybody talking about how I talk to folks on our show. So I don't care that Jimmy Dore was yelling and screaming, fuck you at the dude on the Zoom.
But come on, man, come on, but we got to grow the fuck up. Well, because the reason why I say we got to grow the fuck up, if Jimmy Dore's delivery is the worst thing that we're going to deal with, as opposed to getting our government to respond to our fucking needs, getting our government to respond to what we need, 8 million people pushed into poverty, millions more that's following, eviction crisis, the fact that that the economy of this country slowly collapsing right before our eyes. I mean, you got folks who used to look down on McDonald workers now getting food packages.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And all we are concerned about is what the fuck comes out of Jimmy Dore's mouth or your mouth or how it comes out. We need to grow the fuck up, because you're not going to see the MAGA people talk about how the people who promote their ideology talk. You're not going to hear them say that.
That's a great point.
Yeah, they're not concerned with that.
That's a great point. Let's make this clear. The MAGA folks who came to DC
right
last weekend, the leader of the Proud Boys, I can't remember his name, but they vandalized two churches, two black churches in this city, ripped down the Black Lives Matter signs and burned the banners. I haven't seen anybody in MAGA world condemn what the fuck these people did.
Not at all.
Nobody in the Trump administration.
Trump himself didn't condemn
Trump
it.
ain't say nothing. Nobody on Fox News said anything. Nobody looked at them and said, "Oh my God, I understand they're MAGA supporters, but we don't want them to do it like that. We don't want them to make their point like that." Look, I have never liked this online sniping at personalities that people do in the progressive online space. And I have never liked the way a lot of these online progressive outlets focus on personalities, politicians as personalities over the policies. But see, you do that when you yourself are not involved in an organization, when your platform is all about you and what you have to say. We're not built that way.
Celebrity activism. That's what we call it.
Yeah, we're not built that way. We are involved. Oh, this camera is annoying. We are involved in several organizations. We talk about them all the time. Black Alliance for Peace, Pan-African Community Action. We're involved in organization that is involved in organizing, educating, and organizing people. So we use our platform. When you see me on By Any Means Necessary, a lot of the guests that we have on radical revolutionary topics come from the organizations we belong to, because we believe in elevating the people who are doing the work to educate folks on the issues and to organize people around how to advance the consensus in communities of how those issues get solved.
Well, we were asked last week, somebody from one of our friends on our online community, well, why don't you guys have more listeners? And be honest with you, we don't chase them. And we're very appreciative and grateful for you guys who come and check out what we got to say. But to be honest with you, Jackie and I have never sought to be celebrity activists. We want to be part. We started this to organize. We started this to be part of the change. Not for it to be about us. So we could be like everybody else and all this kind of stuff, but we don't chase it. And that's the thing, because we feel you guys who are with us, that you're on the same page that we're on. You want change like we want change. You could chase the celebrity activists and chase the YouTube stars and all this other kind of stuff, but we don't chase that, and we stay in our lane, and we just try our best to be sincere with you guys, man, in order to agitate for real change,
Right.
So,
and see, this is a perfect comment. This is what I mean. Dill-esque said, By Any Means Necessary is the GOAT, for real, and I've been listening to y'all for about 2 years. I thank you. I've been on the show only for a year, so this was like for us who were not like chasing celebrity or chasing a bunch of likes and clicks and
we still don't chase it.
talking about the hot topics. That's why I'm just like, I didn't want to weigh in on this whole Twitter beef between these people, because I never like doing that. But you're right, it is a political issue that is relevant, so we do have to talk about it. But and
just to let our audience know, we do keep our ear to the ground.
We do.
We keep our ear to the ground.
We know what's going on.
We know what's going on.
Please believe me when I tell you, we know a lot more about folks than we will ever let on, which is also why we don't weigh in on this stuff, because people have no idea what our road, who we met and who we had to deal with on our road to where we are right now, and it's a lot of people. So look, but that's what having integrity is about also. So but Dillask said that listening by any means necessary is partially how he joined the Party for Socialism and Liberation. If you're not going to be encouraging people with whatever platform you have to join an organization where they can learn more about an issue, where they can learn, that means study, that means reading, that means you got to do it. Mm-hmm. You cannot get all your information from somebody on YouTube or on Twitter or on the radio or on Facebook. Please, God, don't get all your information from us. Read. That's why we give you sources. Right. So you can read for yourself. Don't believe us just because we said it and you like us and you think we cute. I mean, we are, but still. But that's the point, Dill, of having these platforms to encourage people to join an organization where people can form solidarity with other folks.
There you go.
Where they can learn together, organize together, and then we can mobilize together. We struggle together, we organize together, and then we win together. That's how we do it.
Well, let me ask you a question. How many, you guys, it's kind of hard. We don't have the one where you can raise your hand. Mm-hmm. But Jackie and I had started this some time ago, and we still believe that we need to have homework. And so the thing of it is, how many of you guys out there have Naomi Klein's Disaster Capitalism?
Where that?
Because I know we have it.
Yeah, it might be upstairs.
Well, if you don't have that book, we will encourage.
No, it's the Shock Doctrine.
Shock Doctrine, that's what it is. All right, yeah, Shock Doctrine. So this is the thing. So if you don't have it, over the course of this Christmas holiday or whenever you get it, please get this book. And even if you have this book, reread it. Mm-hmm. Reread it. That's going to be our homework.
Yep.
And we're going to, because we're going this day in this country, as they say, but this day on this platform, we are, you and I, us and you guys, mm-hmm. we are going to organize, and we are going to light a fire underneath their asses, because we are not going to go throughout 2021. 2020 was a bitch for most of us, but we are going to show the rest of these fall progressives how it's done. It's us and y'all. And so if you don't have Shock Doctrine, mm-hmm. please get it. Uh-huh. If you already have it, reread it mm-hmm. again. And we are going to organize, all of us together, and we are going to show them how it's done, and we're going to light a fire under their ass.
Yep. Here's another book that, excuse me, sorry, I'm going to suggest to you. Let me show it to you, because I just learned about it today. So we're going to get it so we can read it. Mm-hmm. So we want you to read along with it. It's Black Marxism by Cedric J. Robinson. Black Marxism, The Making of the Black Radical Tradition. Something that I noticed that is really a serious problem in these white progressive movements is that they don't want to learn about organizing from the people who have the deepest history in organizing. Black, Chicano, and indigenous people. They
only unless they're in charge.
Except if they're in charge.
Right.
And then white folks are like, okay, I guess you can talk about your little black stuff for a minute. But no, you cannot organize. You can't get this political stuff right unless you are reading how to organize from the people who have organizing in our DNA. Because it's all we've ever been doing. Now, there's another question here that I want to get to, and I'm gonna be nice. Latasha Johnson says, "How do you feel about knowing that in all these organizations that you're possibly involved in, there's COINTELPRO happening, and the person sitting to your right or your left is possible CIA?" Well, the same reason I feel like living in the United States and white people are around me, and I don't know which one of them is going to cause me harm. If this is a reason for not getting involved in the organization, you're missing the point. You're absolutely missing the point, because you can't. Here's what I don't understand.
Well, let me say this real quick.
Yes.
We've been under surveillance here since 1619.
I mean, really since 1490.
Right.
Well,
so I mean,
1492, 1594. Yeah.
All Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, everybody who took on this work understood that there was infiltrators. They understood. Malcolm used to open up his meetings by greeting his friends and his enemies. Because he knew that they were there. So when in the United States, when you know that there has always been opposition to black people in this country, and to black movements in this country, for black people to lift the yoke of oppression off our neck. When you know that this country has always been opposed to that, then it goes without saying that they're going to do all they can to destroy these movements. But the thing of it is that those who understood that continued to fight anyway, and this is where the true revolutionary starts to build. This is why we have to study. This is the reason why we have to study our predecessors, because Dr. King could have easily just remained the pastor at the church in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he could have easily just said, "Hey, look, I'm not with this shit. I'm just going to just sit here and he would have probably still been living today had he would have just been a regular pastor at the church." I mean, Malcolm X, had he would have just been Minister Malcolm in the Nation of Islam, and decided to just be a single fan of Elijah Muhammad and just stay there, and because it worked for him and his family, then he would have never made the change to become the person that he is to us. But both of them lost their lives. You know why? Is because they have to understand. Martin Luther King, Dr. King, said that if you don't have anything willing to die for, then your living is in vain. That is a revolutionary. A revolutionary, it's not about us. It's not about you. But it's about, what are we fighting for? Because, look, it's a true saying. We're all going to die anyway. You know what I mean? But the revolutionary doesn't realizes that when it comes to revolution, there is no such thing as playing it safe.
Right.
You fight the war, and you fight it, and whatever comes, what may. Whatever comes, it comes. But that only comes, Latasha, through studying and through practice. I don't expect anybody to embody that type of fervor right now. These are steps that you have to take forward. So with Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, and all the others, they didn't just get to that point from the beginning, but it took steps. It took belief. It took the courage in their heart to understand that they were on the right side of history. And so, look, if it happens that an assassin bullet takes my life, then oh well. That means the person who takes the baton from me and keep it moving. That's what revolution is all about. So how we feel about it, how I feel about COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO is COINTELPRO exists in this country since 1619.
Right.
Ever since they said that blacks couldn't gather together unless there was a white man in the midst. That's COINTELPRO.
Yeah, blacks were like, well, okay, let's find a way for us to gather together. So
what's his name? Nat Turner.
Yep.
Nat Turner and the rest of them. Gabriel Prosser, Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey. You know how their rebellions failed? Because some slave infiltrator went back and told Massa, and that's how they the slave owners and stuff found out about the rebellion. That's all. That's only COINTELPRO.
Come on now.
That's all that was. That was just COINTELPRO. The slave was up there listening to the plans
and going back
and ran back and told the master. So that's COINTELPRO.
Those Negroes over there trying to.
So it's nothing new. But guess what? Nat Turner, Gabriel Prosser, and Denmark Vesey did it anyway.
And that's the whole point. I was thinking about when you said something about the civil rights movement, and how King could have just stayed a pastor.
He could have just stayed a pastor.
And how the revolutionary spirit of people that we look up to, like Fannie Lou Hamer and Ella Baker and Claudia Jones and Kwame Ture.
Right.
It wasn't like they were born that they were in out of high school. I'm fuck this system.
Right.
I sure wasn't. Maybe they were, but I know that getting to the point of seeing politics from a radical perspective, and when I say politics, I don't just mean electoral politics, because everything is political. I mean, where you live is political. The services you get in your zip code are political. How your kid's school is funded, that's political. Whether you have a movie theater 5 miles from your house or 50 miles from your house, that's political. Everything is political. The rates on your water bill, political. It's all political. But seeing these issues from a radical perspective outside of the Democrat or the Republican dichotomy, and from the lens of another system that we have not seen in this country before, we meaning the working class, those outside of the ruling class and the landowning class and the white male group, that took, first of all, understanding that there's something wrong with this system. But you can't understand that there's something wrong with the system if you don't even know how the system works. And we have to understand that most people in this country actually don't know how this system works. And it's intentionally that way. We are intentionally miseducated and not educated at all about how the political process works in this country, because the powers that be don't intend for us to get involved in politics. They don't intend for it. They intend for us to be afraid of being involved in politics because it's too hard, it's too complicated, we'll lose too many battles. Oh, if we do this, it's not going to mean anything. Oh my God, if we get involved in organizations, they're going to be spies and they're going to kill us. Like my husband said, he and I don't agree on every single thing, but there's a reason I married this dude. There's a reason we're married, because we have the same mindset when it comes to this political ideology. We're in our 50s. We're about to be seriously middle-aged. We're about to be like 55. The end of our life, we're closer to the end of our life than we are to our, younger, fresh years. That's why, y'all can get out there and protest and march up and down the street, and God bless you. We'll be handing out safety packs on the sidewalk, but we ain't doing a whole lot of marching anymore because we have arthritis.
Make sure you eat too. We'll make
sure you eat and you get your calories up and you'll be hydrated, and we'll be out there cheering you on. But we can't do too much marching because we don't heal like we used to. And we had to come to that realization.
Yeah, found that out the hard way.
We did find that out the hard way this summer, that we don't recover from tear gas like we used. But we came to this, each of us, in our completely different, separate lives, because we only met like 8-9 years ago. We came to these radical ideologies through understanding that the system was not designed to work for us. We didn't wake up like, hey, we're black radicals. No, we grew into that, understanding how this system, first of all, understanding how they claimed the system was supposed to work, then realizing that they lied. Realizing that they lied by looking at our lives and looking at all the times that we tried to work within the system and we got fucked over. And not only did we get fucked over, but everybody we knew did. And almost right. Everybody we knew.
And we just weren't content on just living with that. And so right. that's what creates activists. That's what activism is. It's nothing spooky. An activist is just somebody who doesn't like the way the status quo is going, and the activist is just someone that is just not comfortable with the way things are, and that's what it was for us. I know it was like that for me. I got tired of seeing black kids going to inferior schools. I got tired of living in Newark, New Jersey, and Camden, New Jersey. I got tired of seeing the police brutality of not just adults, but watching New Jersey State Police beat up on on middle school kids who were just leaving, coming home from school. I got tired of seeing these pockets of poverty that's surrounded by all of this wealth, and everything like that, and knowing that, hey, look, there's got to be a better way. I'm not going to be comfortable with, I can't be comfortable with this, with this, and so I didn't know at the time how to go about it. Like many people out there, I didn't know what steps to take, but eventually, like minds meet up with like minds, and
Yep.
I joined an organization in New Jersey, and cut my teeth there, and been on this path ever since. So yeah, I mean, all of us have a part to play. Most activists, nobody knows their name. Most people who are responsible for change, nobody knows their name. Nobody would probably know your name, no, probably don't, but it doesn't matter. And I think that if we are going to really get true change in this society, we have to get out of our heads of, nobody's going to, there isn't going to be a monument for you or me on Monument Square.
What?
And there's not.
What?
There's not going to be a parade. There's not. This is a thankless job.
I'm not doing
and
it
the thing of it is the fact that the only way the thanks come from inside. It comes from knowing that you are doing your part to make this world a better place. And I'm tired of sounding like a Hallmark card. So anyway, I'm going to end this, but you know where I'm getting at.
I love it when you sound like a Hallmark card, though.
A revolutionary
love it.
Hallmark
It's
card,
so
right?
sweet.
They should have a card for revolutionaries.
Like Mahogany Plus, the
Right,
Mahogany
yeah, the
bubbles and
mahogany
black,
cards, yeah.
like Mahogany Onyx. or
Right.
something.
It should be a revolutionary card.
Greeting
You get
cards
revolution.
for revolutionaries,
Yeah, it
but
should be
nobody
that.
smiles on the cards and everybody's looking
Right,
like this.
right,
But,
exactly.
I mean, yeah, I mean, look, it is easy to say that, people are flawed and people and their egos, you have to deal with them in these organizations, and it does happen. People get all full of themselves sometimes, and they get in the way, and they, mess up. Yeah, it happens because people are messy, and that's a people issue. That's a human being issue. That's not a revolutionary organization issue. I mean, anywhere you're gonna have some people, you're gonna have some shit. That's just. I'm the moderator of my church. But look, let me tell you, I've been in church all my life. I don't care what kind of church I've been in. I don't care how conservative or progressive. As long as there were people in that church, there was some shit. And so it's not about church. Same thing in school. You go to a Greek organization. You go to a school board. You go to a book club. You get a bunch of women together to read a book and drink some wine. Jesus Christ. Sports league. Look. So the fact that there are infiltrators and the government is watching and the government is, we've been followed by the feds. So what? That lets me know that somebody thinks we're a threat.
Mm-hmm.
And that lets me know that we're doing something right. The other thing that lets me know that we're doing something right, when the next generation of our family, who, as far as we know, they don't watch our stuff. At least they don't tell us they do. Our family is never on our streams. If they are, they don't say anything. But then we see them posting the same questions that we have asked about this system. Why is it that, yes, everyone should wear a mask, but why is it that the government, that the state is locking people up for not wearing a mask, but the same state isn't providing money for people to be able to have a mask without them having to pay for it? That to me is worth the price of all the aggravation, to see people that we know make the connections on their own. We'd like to think we had something to do with that. So that's why we do what we do. And that's why we do it the way we do it. We don't, I'm glad, I appreciate asking the question about the Door AOC beef, but to me, I don't think the beef was really about them. I know that's what people make it. To me, the issue is We can't have politics without organization. And we also need to be aware that not everybody is politically mature and aware as we are. So those folks need their consciousness raised about these issues in a really kind of spectacular political theaterish way. And that's the only way you're going to get some people into an organization. So there's that. So I checked Alan McLeod's Twitter feed. He hadn't posted anything else from the stimulus bill, any more language from the stimulus bill. But we just want y'all to remember that this government bitched and moaned about giving us $600, a $600 check. Bitched and moaned about that. But real quick, came up with $177 million to give Israel for some missiles. Yeah. And people are actually believing that a virus is fake and wondering about whether folks are going to take a vaccine. Those are not the questions. Those are not the questions we should be asking. So, that's all we got to say for tonight. Thanks, y'all, for joining us. David Otness, hey, Neil Sanger. Neil said MMT for billionaires and a stiff kick in the face. A stiff kick in the face to the proletariat. Yep, you're right. What's going on, Michael and Zach Mills? I mix what I like with our comrade and friend, Dr. Jared Ball, 1619 Pro, who has been really, really busy this week. So y'all need to check out imixwhatilike.org. You really do. Torches and pitchforks, check out their stuff. Forrest Hinton. Dill ask y'all, thanks so much for joining us. Mrs. Lukman is going to bed with some tea so I can get ready for the show tomorrow. And we will have a regular show sometime this week, I think. But in the meantime, y'all, thanks so much for joining us for our impromptu live in Lukman Nation. And as always, be really good to each other. And we say to you, peace, if you are willing to fight for it. Excuse me. You got some candy things for me?
Yep. All over here. Oh, crap.
Oh, you emptied the candy things out so now the dog can get them?
No, it fell under the box.
Oh.